Families are supposed to be your safe harbor, right? The people who stand by you no matter what. For a long time, I thought mine was. On the surface, everything looked perfect. We had family dinners, we went on vacations, we had all the trappings of a happy family. But beneath that shiny surface, something was deeply wrong. It was a slow, creeping realization, something I couldn't put my finger on for years. It started with small things, little moments that felt off. I remember this one time I was maybe 10 or 11. We were at a family barbecue, and I was playing soccer with my older brother and some cousins. My brother, he was always the golden child. Good at sports, popular, charming, everything I wasn't. He was a lot bigger than me, and he liked to play rough. During the game, he tackled me hard. I went down, and this searing pain shot through my ankle. I couldn't get up. I just lay there on the grass, tears welling up in my eyes, trying so hard not to cry. My dad came over, looked down at me, and his face was just annoyed. "Get up," he growled. "You're fine." I tried to explain that my ankle really hurt, that I couldn't put any weight on it. He just shook his head in disgust. "Stop being so dramatic. It's just a little knock." He walked away, leaving me there. My brother jogged over, a smirk on his face. "Lighten up," he said. "It was just a joke." He offered a hand, but not to help me up. It was more like a gesture of dismissal. My mom eventually came over. I thought, finally, someone will help me. She knelt down, but her expression wasn't one of concern. It was one of embarrassment. "Don't make a scene," she whispered. "You're ruining the party for everyone." She helped me hobble to a chair, gave me an ice pack, and then went back to chatting with her sisters as if nothing had happened. I sat there, my ankle throbbing, but the pain in my heart was so much worse. It wasn't just the physical pain. It was the crushing realization that my pain didn't matter. It was an inconvenience, a drama, a joke. That incident wasn't a one-off. It was a pattern. My feelings, my struggles, my pain, they were consistently minimized, dismissed, or turned into a punchline. When I struggled with math in middle school and my grades slipped, my dad told me I just wasn't trying hard enough, that I was being lazy. He compared me to my brother, who aced every test without even trying. My mom would say things like, "Well, not everyone can be a genius, dear," which felt less like reassurance and more like a confirmation of my own inadequacy. The emotional landscape of my home was a minefield. My brother's favorite pastime was teasing me. He'd find my deepest insecurities and poke at them relentlessly. If I got a new haircut I was excited about, he'd say it looked ridiculous. If I was proud of a drawing I made, he'd point out all the flaws. When I'd get upset and tell him to stop, he'd laugh and say, "I'm just kidding." "You're so sensitive." And my parents? They'd just watch. Sometimes they'd even chuckle along. "He's just being a boy," my mom would say. "You need to learn to take a joke." But it wasn't a joke. It was a constant barrage of tiny cuts that over time bled me dry of my self-worth. I started to believe them. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I was dramatic. Maybe I was just not good enough. I learned to stop sharing things. I stopped talking about my feelings. I stopped showing my pain. I became quiet, withdrawn. I built walls around myself so thick that nobody could get in, because I learned that letting people in just meant giving them ammunition to hurt me. High school was a lonely time. I watched my friends with their supportive families, and a deep, gnawing envy grew inside me. I saw their parents at their sports games, cheering them on. I saw their siblings sticking up for each other. I saw their moms comforting them after a breakup. My family provided a roof over my head, food on the table, but the emotional support was a gaping void. My achievements were met with lukewarm acknowledgement, my failures with sharp criticism, or worse, indifference. The breaking point came in my senior year. I'd been working incredibly hard on my college applications, pouring my heart into my essays. I was applying for an art program, something I was passionate about, but I'd always kept hidden, knowing my family would see it as impractical. One evening, my dad asked about my applications. I hesitantly told him I was applying to art school. He just stared at me for a moment. Then he laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. It was a mocking, incredulous laugh. "Art school?" He said. "What are you going to do with that? Draw cartoons for a living? You need a real career." My brother, overhearing from the other room, yelled, "Yeah, good luck paying back student loans with doodles." My mom just sighed and said, "Maybe you should have a backup plan, sweetie. Something more stable." That was it. In that moment, something inside me just snapped. All the years of being dismissed, belittled, and ignored came rushing to the surface. I looked at their faces, my dad's derision, my brother's smugness, my mom's passive disapproval, and I saw them clearly for the first time. They weren't just a tough love family. They were my biggest critics, my most consistent source of self-doubt. They weren't my safe harbor. They were the storm. I stood up, my hands shaking. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. My voice was eerily calm. You know what? I said. I'm done. I'm done trying to get your approval. I'm done pretending that your words don't cut me to pieces. I'm done being your family's punching bag. I walked out of the room, went upstairs, and closed my door. For the first time, the silence didn't feel lonely. It felt like freedom. Going away to college was my escape. Being hundreds of miles away from them was like coming up for air after being held underwater. I started therapy, something I never would have been allowed to do at home. My therapist gave me a name for what I had experienced: emotional neglect. It was a revelation. It wasn't that I was too sensitive, it was that my emotional needs were systematically ignored. My pain was real. My feelings were valid. It was a long and difficult journey. I had to unlearn years of negative self-talk. I had to learn how to trust people again, how to be vulnerable. I had to learn that it was okay to have needs and to express them. I had to build a new family for myself, a chosen family of friends who celebrated my successes, comforted me in my failures, and loved me for who I was, not for who they wanted me to be. My relationship with my family is complicated now. I keep my distance. We talk on holidays, but the conversations are superficial. They've never acknowledged the hurt they caused. They probably never will. My dad still thinks I'm too sensitive. My brother still thinks his barbs are just jokes. And my mom still thinks avoiding conflict is the same as creating peace. But I'm not that wounded 10-year-old on the lawn anymore. I'm not the teenager hiding his dreams. I'm an adult who has built a life for himself on his own terms. I did go to art school, and I'm actually a successful graphic designer now. I've learned that you can't choose the family you're born into, but you can choose how you let them affect you. You can choose to break the cycle. If you're listening to this and any of it sounds familiar, please know this: your feelings are valid. Your pain is real. You are not too sensitive or too dramatic. Don't let anyone, not even your family, make you believe you're not worthy of love, respect, and support. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to acknowledge the hurt and start the long, hard journey of healing. Build your own safe harbor. Find your chosen family. Because you deserve to be seen, heard, and cherished. It's not an easy path, but I promise you, the freedom on the other side is worth it. Thanks for listening.